Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Thomas Reacts here on the 360 Experience on YouTube with myself, Thomas Mabaso. Guys, 2 days back when I made that video, a reaction video when the newly elected president of the ANC Youth League, Mr. Colin Malachi, when I was reacting to his press conference, I expressed my frustrations with the way he handled the press conference, and I found it very problematic because the only thing that I really had a problem with was him going on such a big platform trying to outline his policies, and somehow he managed to speak and attack the leader of the economic freedom fighter, Julius Malema. So I really found that necessary. That was the basis of the whole reaction video. So yesterday I was online, then I came across this interview. Apparently this interview took place yesterday on Metro FM, with the host there, Faith Mongope. So Faith Mongope had a guest there from the ANC Youth League, from the ANC Youth League, Avela Mjajubana, to talk about, everybody's talking about the ANC Youth League. So to talk about the Youth League, what is it exactly that the Youth League wants? What is it that they are aiming to achieve? And to outline their policies, man, so that people can understand their purpose. Why are they there? You see, so I wanted us to go through this interview. It's quite lengthy. It's only 20 minutes, but I hope that you will be able to listen through this interview. I will be here with you. Maybe I will interject there and there where I feel like I need to. But I really found this interview really interesting because this interview is going to get to a point where is stepping back to the reaction video I did 2 days back about Colin Malachi when he mentioned Julius Malema out of nowhere. So this interview is also gonna do the same thing. So it made me I found it really interesting that these people it's almost as if they have a mandate to go out there and start saying things about Malema unprovoked. So I want us to go through this interview. It's a nice interview. It's gonna get tricky, it's gonna get fun, you're gonna laugh at some of the answers, but it's fine. That's the reason why we are here. I hope that you enjoyed this interview with me, and wherever I feel like Faith is not interjecting enough, I will try to, throw my 2 cents there. So let's go.
Let's bring in this conversation as well. I'm going to answer. We're going to actually start with this one that you've just raised there. Our last voice note, ANC Youth League, NEC member Avela Mjajubana. Thank you so much, Avela, for your time this evening, and welcome to Metro FM Talk.
Thank you very much, and greeting to your listeners at home.
Perhaps let's start off with this. We're due to have a conversation with the president of the ANC Youth League, the newly elected, Colin Malachi. And I'm sure you can wonder, why is it that we've got the public broadcaster saying, where is the ANC Youth League president that was promised to listeners, that was promised to the youth of this country who want to be able to listen to the newly elected ANC Youth League president? Can you just clarify that one? Where is the ANC Youth League president?
No, thanks very much. We must firstly say that the president is committed to listen and hear and check the views from young people across the country. However, the president is tied up in a meeting with the leadership of our alliance and officials of the ANC to, of course, clarify some of the issues. We understand that the ANC has always declared that Mondays, the officials of the ANC are always meeting on Mondays. So since his election has been inundated with the work that the youth should have done before his election, now he had to attend to some of the issues so that he can be briefed properly on the work that the ANC should have undertaken and the work that he should undertake now as the president of the ANC, because he was elected and the Congress had to close yesterday. and therefore the president is busy with the work of the ANC Youth League, and that, of course, of attending to ANC, of course, pushing the agenda of young people.
So he's basically called into the meeting with the ANC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
shortly
yes,
put.
yes.
All right, he's called into a meeting with the ANC. We'll leave it at that. We'll try to get him back, obviously, so that he can speak to the very same young people. But you know what? I want to go with what the last voice note that we heard coming in from our listeners was saying, that exactly what is the mandate of the ANC Youth League? Like, what do you guys actually stand to do? Why do you exist?
Yeah, to look, the ANC Youth League is the youth wing of the. I just want to be blunt and clear. The ANC Youth League is the ANC youth wing of the ANC. It's established according to the constitution of the ANC, and that we need the ANC Youth League. One, the task of the ANC Youth League is to mobilize young people beyond the banner of the ANC. Two, which is overarching, is that the ANC Youth League must champion the youth interest. Youth interest speaking, address unemployment, address the skills challenge, address the social ills in our society, that is substance abuse, crime, GBV, and all other social ills that affect our society. So that is the critical responsibility that the ANC Youth League should play. Of course, if you address that as the ANC Youth League, you will be addressing the secondary question, which is that of championing, which is that of rallying young people beyond the banner of the ANC. Because if you address these things of the Youth League, young people will have no choice other than to say, indeed the ANC is listening to our problems, and indeed the ANC is championing our interests, and that will be done through the ANC Youth League. And of course, the ANC is a very big organization which was established in 1912, and they have survived many challenges. Of course, there are challenges over the years that the ANC will have, but the ANC Youth League need to rise above and become a youth voice in the body politics of the ANC.
So you are the youth voice in the body politics of the ANC,
Of
and you exist to rally young people behind the banner of the African National
and champion youth interest
and champion youth interests.
You know, every time when I listen to such interviews and you listen to these politicians, and they are well spoken, man. I mean, like, they are very articulate. But I don't get the message, because every time someone says, as an organization, we want to address the issue of unemployment, we want to address the issue of maybe our education system, we want to address maybe the issue of housing. I've never actually heard someone tell me into details how are they going to achieve that. Someone always, like, these people always come to you and do like, we're going to address this issue of unemployment. But it's fine. What is it exactly that you are going to do to address this issue of unemployment? I find it very strange that people come with these blanket statements and be like, no, I want to address this issue of housing, and we are going to address the issue of service delivery. But no one actually comes out and tells you, like, okay, in terms of housing, this is what we are going to do. We are going to move 10,000 people backwards so that we can build few houses, or like, no one actually comes with practical solutions that can make sense. And I think maybe it's because that it's easier to just tell people that, okay, we want to deal with the issue of unemployment rate. Because I'm always interested to hearing what is it exactly that you are going to do to address this issue of unemployment. What is it exactly that you are going to do to address this issue of skills development? What is it are you going to do? Like, are you only going to tell us that you are going to address the issue of skills development, unemployment, education and everything, but not actually taking us through the plans. I find it very strange, man. It's very strange, and our politicians are very smart, bro. They are very smart.
It's good to have this kind of clarity because, it is a very difficult task, especially given where young people are when it comes to the African National Congress. Let's talk a little bit about the sentiment of young people towards the ANC. Right now, we've seen the highest number of voter turnout was since it was in 1994. That was the highest. I think it was sitting at about 80% of a voter turnout in 1994. The numbers have subsequently declined to a point where I think about 12 million people or 20 million people or so determined the fate of 60 million people. And when you ask around, does the ANC actually stand for young people? I would wonder what the 60% or over 64% of young people that are unemployed in South Africa right now would say. And never mind that, your very own Congress, 70% of Congress members raised their hands up this past weekend when Fasiha was doing the political report saying that they are unemployed. You had 70% of that room that was unemployed. You've got 64%, and that's just a conservative number of young people in the country unemployed. Does the ANC really stand for those people?
Indeed, the ANC stands for the poor and the
How?
class. And according to wisdom and tactics, the ANC has said that we're a disciplined force of the working class and the poor. Now, the ANC Youth League, the way I'm standing is that we need to clarify society, and this one need to understand that when the economy is not growing, the ANC government can't be able to create jobs. And that if we are to take back...
If the economy is not growing, the ANC government cannot create jobs. If the economy is not growing, the ANC government cannot create jobs. Man, I thought that the job, especially of the political party when it comes to job creation, is to create a conducive environment where investors can easily invest and build the economy. So when we talk about the jobs that are actually created by the political structure, what are those jobs? Government jobs. They're already filled, man. So why don't they talk about the issue of creating a conducive environment? Because as much as government wants to create jobs, they need the investors. They need people who actually going to come and say, we're going to build businesses here and employ people or train people. They can't do it alone. Nobody does it alone. So I find it very strange that they don't talk about creating an environment that is clean, maybe creating municipalities that are clean, maybe creating municipalities that are corruption free.
And go to classical terms and evolution of South Africa itself, you'll be able to understand that the ANC government has done well because that if you go there, you'll be able to understand that there's a difference between the state and the ownership of the economy. And that the owners of the economy are the dictators of the state.
Who are the owners of the economy?
The owners of the economy, according to the state in South Africa, the differentiation will be that majority of those who are owning the economy, 10% of them are white people. And majority, which is 90%, are the dwelling masses of our people. So it can't be that you will be able to tamper it can't be able that you will make the economy to change its status quo if you don't tamper in the balance of forces in the economy.
What kind of balance of
And
forces?
the economy-
Because the African National Congress in 1994, and even leading up to CODESA 1 and CODESA 2, the political negotiation that was put on the table was so much of a compromise that we gained political power, but not necessarily economic power, and that has transcended throughout the last 30 years. Was how we over-negotiated and compromised ourselves at that CODESA 1 and CODESA 2 to the point where the owners of the economy are white people in the country. So therefore, I go, who owns that accountability for ensuring that the owners of the economy are white people? Is it not the very same ANC?
No, it's not. It's not the
So who are the people that negotiated and
The
out-negotiated us of being able to be owners of the economy?
The ANC government negotiated a peace deal, and that the ANC government remains in an engagement that we ought.
Hey, but that's a nice question, man. I didn't see this one coming, man. He didn't. I must admit, I also didn't see that one coming, man. Damn. The same people who negotiated for us to not own the economy are the same people who are running the country. Damn. Isn't it?
All that we want is that there must be a peace and every conflict must be resolved within an engagement. We don't want arms, and I think the blood that was shed in South Africa, the ANC government doesn't want us to go into that conduct. Now, when you take us back to history, before the ANC came to government and to power, you take us to CODESA and the CODESA 1, 2, and the compromise that we have made. But the point which we are raising is that the state remains controlled elsewhere, and the economy of the country remains stagnant. And if you read the stats that the economy remains stagnant, it's not growing to a pace that the African National Congress government will want the economy to grow at, so that it can create the much needed jobs for our people, so that our people can get to be employed. Also, that the institutions, which also must become a production of skills that is higher institutions of higher learning, are still locked within the acts that were provided for. That is, we maintain the national autonomy and other acts that would be there, so that the skills revolution is not determined by the government, but however, it's determined by institutions that are independent. What that creates is that the ANC will have a vision, but those who own the economy and the narrative in the country will drive the skills revolution that is different from what the government of the country will want to achieve.
How do you drive a skills revolution if the very same people that were sitting in Congress on Saturday are unemployed? 70% of that room, we had young people that were in the African National Congress's Youth League that were unemployed. You're talking...
I mean, that's the same thing that happens, like during the elections. You know, they send these people who are unemployed to come and tell you that, we can create, we're going to get you employed. You're going to find jobs. So an unemployed person coming to you telling you about getting a job. So if the 70% of the room is unemployed, how can they drive this issue of employment? It makes no sense, man. It makes no sense. Someone who's unemployed goes around in the townships telling people that if you vote for this party, you're going to get a job. You are already a member of that party. You are already running around in the townships, still unemployed, and telling people about finding jobs. Amen.
Hear about how we need to drive the economy, we need to be able to, they don't have jobs. Your very same members of the ANC Youth League don't have jobs. 70% of that room did not have jobs. If 70% of that room don't have jobs, 64% of young people don't have jobs outside, how are we going to drive change? How are you going to drive change?
It's a reality which you are creating. But the ANC Youth League, first let us clarify and also stick with what the president of the ANC Youth League has said, that Julius was not suspended or expelled in the ANC for economic freedom program of the Youth League, was expelled for indiscipline.
So now we're gonna have a problem, guys. Now we have a problem. I am convinced 100% now we have a problem. So he's being asked about the issue of unemployment. The 70% of the Youth League is unemployed. And out of the blue, he talks about Julius. And a lot of people criticized me about that video and like, I want us to hear this thing again.
Let us clarify and also stick with what the president of the ANC Youth League has said.
You're talking here about how we need to drive the economy, we need to be able to, they don't have jobs. Your very same members of the ANC Youth League don't have jobs. 70% of that room did not have jobs. If 70% of that room don't have jobs, 64% of young people don't have jobs outside, how are we going to drive change? How are you going to drive change?
It's a reality which you are creating. But the ANC Youth League, first let us clarify and also stick with what the president of the ANC Youth League has said, that Julius was not suspended or expelled in the ANC for economic freedom.
Maybe
A National Congress's Youth League.
you know when you talk about something and you are 100% right, and there are people who say you are wrong, but you know 100% that you are right. It was not random. Colin Malachi's remarks about Julius Malema were not random, bro. It's clearly there's a mandate there, man. His remarks were not random. Because I want us to hear again. I want you to pay attention to what Faith is asking this guy. And I want you to listen to how he responds.
We're unemployed. You're talking here about how we need to drive the economy, we need to be able to, they don't have jobs. Your very same members of the ANC Youth League don't have jobs. 70% of that room did not have jobs. If 70% of that room don't have jobs, 64% of young people don't have jobs outside, how are we going to drive change? How are you going to drive change?
It's a reality which you are creating. But the ANC Youth League, first let us clarify and also stick with what the president of the ANC Youth League has said, that Julius was not suspended or expelled in the ANC for economic freedom program of the Youth League, was expelled for indiscipline and his anarchic behavior within the structure of the ANC. Now, the program of economic freedom had pillars which the ANC must adopt in order to achieve a particular goal which was driven by the ANC, that of achieving freedom in our lifetime.
I hear you. Avela, I'm going to stop you there by saying that, first of all, you're doing a disservice to the ANC Youth League by bringing up Julius Malema. Julius Malema is the president of the EFF. Leave him aside. Let his ghost stay there in the EFF. Don't bring Julius into an ANC Youth League conversation. It has nothing to do with, you've just mentioned that Julius Malema was expelled because of ill discipline. I never asked you about Julius Malema. I'm not asking about Julius Malema because my concern is about the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League is who I'm having an interview with this evening. So the ANC Youth League is who I'm interested in. I'm not interested with the EFF or Julius Malema. If I was, I would have called Julius Malema myself and said, can you please come in for an interview? So you are bringing up Julius Malema when we're supposed to be speaking about the ANC Youth League. So therefore, I go back to my question. How are you going to change the status quo of economic freedom to pass if 70% of your own members in the ANC Youth League are unemployed, if 64% of young people in this country are unemployed? Leave Julius alone. He's in the
He doesn't want to answer that, man. He just want to deflect and play what do they call it? Identity politics. He just want to get messy, man. And he can hear that he's being asked about something that is very serious. If 70% of your Congress is unemployed and 60% of youth as a whole is unemployed, and you guys are the guys there at the top of the ANC Youth League, you are the decision makers, but you can't even articulate how are you guys going to tackle the issue of unemployment. I mean, this is the same thing I was talking about when I started this video, man. I hate it when someone comes out and tells me that he's going to deal with the issue of unemployment without actually telling me how are you going to deal with the issue of unemployment. If you are going to deal with the issue of unemployment, tell me how are you going to deal with that. This is exactly what I was talking about, man. I hate being lied to, man. I hate it when someone comes out and tells me I'm gonna deal with your issues, whatever that you have a problem with, we're gonna attend to it, without actually telling me how are you going to attend to that. And by that reason alone, it actually proves that there's no need for this organization. Why is it there? How are you going to come out and tell people that you are going to deal with such issues without actually telling them how are you going to deal with those issues? So people are just being distracted by unemployment, education system, healthcare. They don't actually want to get into details. And I think that's the problem why things are the way they are today. It's because people are not willing to ask relevant questions, man. If someone tells you that I'm going to deal with this issue of healthcare, how? How are you going to deal with the issue of healthcare? How? So if 70% of your Congress is unemployed and 60% of youth as a whole in the country is unemployed, how are you going to deal with that? And the first thing that comes out of your mouth is that, no, Julius was expelled for this reason and such and such. No one asked you about Julius Malema. Like Faith said, if I wanted Julius, I would have invited him to talk. So is this the new president?
EFF. How are you going to do this?
Yes, thank you very much. But I think we agree. I do not. It was never my intention to bring Julius. But I want to clarify you to say that the Youth League now, which we just came from a Congress yesterday, is that we have adopted a program of economic freedom, which speaks about nationalization of our land for socialization. One, you must address the skills challenge. which is facing our society. Because
I think before even talking about the skills challenge, like let's stick there with the nationalization, man. How are you going to achieve that? What is the roadmap? How are you going to actually achieve that? And why do you actually need to achieve that? Because you can't just talk about nationalization and the next thing you want to talk about the skills and whatever. The issue of nationalization alone, it's a topic on its own. So this is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about people actually just giving us blanket statements, man.
But now, we have the greater majority of graduates whom are unemployable because the market does not absorb them. And it's not only the state's responsibility to employ people. The private sector has a greater responsibility to play also in employing people who come from institutions of higher learning. Now, you need to be able to address the skills challenge now and the skills mismatch. Number two is that there is a greater exportation of minerals from our country to other countries. And we are saying that we need to create the skills capacity so that we don't have to export the minerals beneath our soil to create employment in other countries of the world, but build capacity in our soil so that we're able to create employment amongst our people here in our country.
You know how many times people have been talking about the issue of
also, you would have known that the Youth League, the previous NEC, the champion that you don't have to have a work experience to enter in a government post. And the president of our country solemnly addressed and accepted that request from the ANC Youth League, and that young people in the entry-level post don't need to have a work experience. Also, NSFAS, through the push of the Youth League and the student movement, SASCO, that we need to ensure that young people get to access the institutions of higher learning without having to pay the fee, particularly those who are coming from financial or poor financial background. And to a particular extent, that were above 600,000 or 500,000 amount, those who are 500,000 and below must never pay in tuition and accommodation. Basic education, our government is doing very well in terms of beautifying our schools.
It's doing very well in terms of beautifying our schools. What? Do we need beautiful skills, or do we need beautiful schools, or do we actually need children who can actually read? I know that the issue of the pit toilets, it has to be addressed, and it has to the pit toilets has to be eradicated. It's a shame that in 2023 there are still kids who are dying in pit toilets. It's a shame that there are still kids who are dying in pit toilets. It's a shame that those toilets, they still exist where our children goes. It's a shame that some schools, they don't have classes. I mean, just go there and watch Cutting Edge, man. Watch Cutting Edge and see how our children are studying, man. Look at the roads. It's not even safe, especially there in rural areas, man.
600,000 or 500,000 a month. Those who are 500.
I mean, like, I'm saying this because I feel like this issue of like having proper infrastructure for our children, I feel like it's an issue that should have been dealt with maybe like 20 years back. I don't believe that like 30 years in our democracy we're still addressing issues like infrastructure, our schooling infrastructure. I don't believe, like, I feel like at this time we should have been advanced like those first world countries. I feel like right now South African kids should be taught like technology, like the highest form of technology, man. That's why I'm so frustrated with this interview, because it's like, how is it possible like 30 years in we are still dealing with the issue that we still have like pit toilets? Our government has to beautify our schools. I mean, like, we should have had an infrastructure way back. Right now we should have been talking about how are we going to compete globally, technology wise. But it's crazy because a lot of kids in South Africa, they can't even read, they can't do math, they can't do nothing. So if 30 years in we are fixing the schools and we are not done with the infrastructure, when are we actually going to deal with the fact that we have a bunch of illiterate kids? When are we going to deal with the fact that majority of kids can read and write?
Government below must never pay in tuition and accommodation. Basic education, our government is doing very well in terms of beautifying our schools, changing mud schools to proper schools so that you improve capacity. Because of a challenge of capacity in our schools, and if of a challenge in the basic education level, you can't therefore expect a good quality of production as it relates to matric. You must improve in terms of infrastructure, which is our government doing. You must improve in terms of quality of teaching and learning, which is our government doing. We have now witnessed provision of iPad, of not whatever it is, not pads or not pads, which are provided in primary schools in villages, where nobody would have thought that this thing would have happened.
I'd like us just to take, for the sake of time, I'd like us just to take also a couple more voice notes, as you were saying. But it amazes me that you're saying that the Department of Basic Education is beautifying our schools, where currently we're sitting with pit toilets in some areas of this country. Exactly. And number two, we're also sitting with according to even the literacy studies that just came out, with 80% of young people in grade 4, they can't even read with understanding or comprehension. I don't know if beautifying is going to help us even read something with the comprehension. But nonetheless, so let's take some of your voice notes.
Good evening, Faith and the Metro FM listeners. The initiative of the ANC Youth League is very useless because ANC government has failed us. If we can try to put our faith in those people that are being controlled by the old ones that have been there for decades but have done nothing, but all they knew was to make sure that their pockets are being filled up. So what is it that they're going to do that we don't know? Nothing. So I always say politicians, they are just equipped with political history, which is very useless to the current crisis that we have in South Africa. We don't need them. We need people who are like entrepreneurs, who will run with the vision and have the ideas to take the economy forward. Rather than that, will always fail and be in the chaos that we are in today.
I mean, this listener mentioned something that is very important. Because throughout this interview, I've never actually heard this guy talk about actually developing entrepreneurs. Actually, I hate the word entrepreneurs, businessmen and businesswomen. I never actually heard him talk about empowering people who are actually business, like who are starting businesses. It's always employment. Employment. When are we going to talk about people who are actually starting something? Why are they not focusing on people who are actually starting people who have already started something? I've never heard him talk about entrepreneurs. The only thing he spoke about is employment. And like this caller is saying, he's telling the truth, bro. We don't need people who will be desperate for employment after 3 years of hard work in university, man. We need people who can actually go out there and say, I'm going to start this particular business. I'm going to invest my time in starting this business. We need people who are going to develop crazy ideas. We need to put the money into people who are actually doing something out there, man. I mean, like, technology-wise, the world has advanced so much that, I mean, like, even the issue of looking for employment, it looks insane. Because with all the information that we have online, with all the help that we have online, artificial intelligence and everything, people are actually making their millions sitting where they are by actually thinking of doing something. Those people are not just employees who just gonna sit around and talk about it. There's no work out there.
The processes that are taken, but us as the youth and young people, we have made a serious stride. Now today, I can tell you that we have more than 33 municipalities that are led by young people across the country. We have, which is a position that we have taken in the 2015 National General Council of the ANC, that 40% must be occupied by young people in all strategic positions, both in government and in private sector. But we note that private sector is not implementing that position, but in government, young people are occupying serious positions. We have mayors now, we have MECs, we have MMCs, and we have everywhere where the key sites where young people occupy, so that the agenda of young people become the center stage.
I'm not talking about MMC, Avela. I'm talking about ministers. We've got cabinet ministers that are over the age of 70 years old, 69, 70, 68. Yes, I'm not taking away from local government. I'm talking here about ministers. If you've got cabinet ministers who hold portfolios and are political heads of portfolios, crucial, critical portfolios in the country, and you are saying that it's not a retirement village, how do we ensure that those critical portfolios that are supposed to have a political head actually have got people that are under the age of retirement, that are at the helm of it? How do we ensure that, Avela, you are the Minister of Police tomorrow? Because I tell you one thing, if you don't champion that, then the Minister of Police is going to be 75 years old and still championing the police.
Exactly. They don't want to talk about those positions, those strategic positions. Those ones who are occupied by the old ones, they don't want to talk about those. They want you to focus on local government. Yeah, maybe I can get a job and be a councillor, or maybe be an MMC. But the truth is that someone who is not politically connected, or he's not a member of a certain political party, man, how can an ordinary member of the country and someone normal like me, how can I become an MMC, man? There are positions that I know I will never hold, man. As long as I'm not part of a certain political party, then I know there are positions that I know for sure that I will never get to them. So how can an ordinary person be an MMC? So what about people who actually don't like politics? People who actually just want to work for their families and provide and move on. So these people believe so much in politics, man. They believe so much in politics because what is he saying is that, like, you come and be a member of our political party and maybe you will get there. But this is not an advertisement for a regular South African, not a regular young person in South Africa. This is not an advertisement for a regular young South African. No, brah. If anything, young people in South Africa, they hate politics. They don't want to participate in politics. No one wants to participate in politics. People are fed up. People just want to work. People are starting their small businesses. People don't want to be tangled up with the political nonsense. Yeah.
Let me give you a straight answer. Allow President Malachi to provide leadership to young people in this country. And I tell you that going to 2024, you will see majority of young people taking positions in the executive of this country.
In the executive of this country, how, bruh? How? Because right now the prediction that people are having is that the ANC might not even get 50%. So what's going to happen if you no longer have 50% in parliament, which means you no longer have that influence? So how are you going to champion those ideas from 2024 young people? So guys, are we honestly not going to talk about young people who are starting their own businesses? Are we honestly not going to talk about investing in young people who are actually making technological advances? Are we actually not going to talk about funding content creators who are actually making a content that's relevant? How about people who have started their small businesses? How about like taking them, maybe do workshops and equip these people, and actually talking about removing some of the red tapes so that small businesses maybe can thrive? Why are we not even talking about the fact that a lot of small businesses are having a tough time going forward? What is it that you are going to do to address that? People are so sick and tired of looking for work. They just want to start their own thing. But when you do, you know what happens.
That is the answer I will provide to you. But give President Malachi a chance to lead. I mean, it's one day. You came to office one day today. Give him a chance to provide leadership. We are going to election in 2024. Give him a chance. You will see that young people will take serious position in the government or governing of this country come 2024.
Avela, I have to leave it here. Much appreciated this evening. Avela Mjajubana, who is the ANC Youth League.
Tell you that going to 2024, you will see majority of young people taking positions in the executive of this country. That is the answer I will provide to you. That give President Malachi a chance to lead. I mean, it's 1 day. You return office 1 day today. Give him a chance to provide leadership. We are going to election in 2024. Give him a chance. You will see that young people will take serious position in the government or governing of this country come 2024.
I hear you. I will have to leave.
Baby, hold up, Barry. Hold up, Barry. Barry, you must give President Malachi time, and you will see things will get. President the Youth League. President the ANC Youth League. Amucha. But you should give him a chance then. Like the issues are the youth the addressed. I just like I was listening to this interview and this guy.
Malachi, a chance to lead. I mean, it's 1 day. You return office 1 day today. Give him a chance to provide leadership. We are going to election in 2024. Give him a chance. You will see that young people will take serious position in the government or governing of this country come 2024.
I hear you.
Mr. Malachi said that they are asking us to give you a chance, and we will see, like, after 2024 we'll see a huge representation of young people in government. So I guess the only question I have for you is that, are you willing to do this? I watched your interview with JJ Tabane. I watched your interview on, I think it was Morning Live. All right. Well, that's it, guys. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time here on Thomas Reacts. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we drop some new content. And the most important part, guys, please drop those comments, give us the feedback, tell us what we need to do better, and tell us which video which we would like us to react to. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.